Hello and welcome back to another episode of Star Wars Alliance. Of course, I'm your host, Clay, and with me, not usually on this show, Katie is taking another break. We'll just say she's feeling under the weather. She will give an update when she is back on the show, but she is okay. She's been talking to us on the GUA chat that we have. So everything is good there. But with me this week is Joe, of course, from A Walk Through the Multiverse and Ranger Alliance. Joe, how you doing?
Tired. How are you?
Also very tired.
I've
Uh,
I know I'm not back at work yet. I go back next week, but my break from work, my Christmas holiday, I guess you could call it, has just been full of taking care of my dad. So I haven't really had a chance to actually enjoy my break, which is fine. But like I'm tired.
yeah, no, I feel you. Uh, Joe, I got a bone to pick with you. Now
Look, it
that
wasn't my fault. They gave me $20.
now that I'm here in your town,
It
I
wasn't
can
my
officially
fault that
say that.
my state and town is racist.
Well, that's something I found out the other day with
That's a
the
different
compliance.
problem.
I mean, that was awkward. Just the compliance letter of like, hey, you did you not see on the GUA
Oh
chat
no no
that
no! Sorry, I've got an update that just popped up, and it kind of really confused me.
okay, you had a very confused face. I was like, you were in that conversation. I know you
Yeah,
were.
was I?
For
No no
those,
no. I didn't comment. I meant to, but yeah, no,
oh, you
yes,
had just read it. Yeah. So,
yeah.
for those of you who are just joining us on either the listening or watching this back on YouTube, um, I got a letter from the state of Indiana saying, "Hey, we need proof that you're not an illegal immigrant." Um, my wife didn't get one. I got one. And and they wanted the full document filled in and returned within 24 hours because of the date that they initially had printed on it. It needs to be
See,
returned by this date.
the
And I
problem is
was
they
like,
probably sent it out like December 22nd, but the holidays.
for real, that's what I had said to Abby, and I was just like, this is so messed up. Um,
Yeah.
and so I didn't fill it out. Uh, so we'll see what happens. I also need to renew
This
my license. My license expires
this is the
on
conversation I was in.
my license expires on my birthday, and uh, I was like, well, if I want a day off, I could just not renew my license because I drive. And Abby was like, "You're gonna have your day off anyway. Your birthday's on a Sunday this year." I was like, "God damn it!" And so I have to go renew that pretty soon. Um, no, but we are, of course, a Star Wars Alliance, Star Wars podcast. Just like to share some things. But before we jump into what our main topic is, for those of you who are listening back, of course, you see the title. We're looking back on some of the stuff that we, of course, went over this year. Some of the stuff that we've got, news and all of that, and stuff that we are looking forward to in 2024. So before we do that, though, of course, me and Katie started our new gimmick here at Star Wars Alliance, our opening crawl, as we like to call it, and that is, of course, uh, just talking about things that are either going to be on other shows here at the GUA, kind of like how Brent and Chris have their uh, post credit scenes on their show, and they get to talk about some of the stuff that's happening either in life or other nerd culture stuff. And so
Technically, they always find a way to trace it back to Marvel.
to trace it
So
back to Marvel, yes, but me and Katie are just we choose the way that we uh,
see,
do things on this show
which is fair.
differently.
That's why I like A Walk to the Multiverse, because
You get to
I
talk
can
about
literally
everything.
pick about anything I want.
You get to talk about
So
everything.
I've
And,
got the get out of universe multiverse free card.
we did say, we did clarify that you did give us permission to talk about, of course, Percy Jackson and the Olympians here on Star Wars Alliance. And so we're going to go ahead and talk about episode 4.
What's
Um,
up, Hunter Iggy?
Oh yeah, Hunter, thank you for joining us here on the YouTube live. Of course, if any of y'all would like to join us live, we are live on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I could finally say that now. I was so used to Central Standard Time. But yeah, come join us. It's a lot of fun. Uh, so Joe, we don't talk about too in detail things about Percy Jackson the book because we don't want to spoil anything for people who eventually do want to read the book. But we do talk differences, and then of course we talk about the show and how it relates to the book and how it's progressing and everything else. Now, I want your opinion on this, and I think I already know your opinion, but this happens with comics, this happens with books, this happens with the reboots of movies and everything else. But there's a huge conversation happening, and we talked about this last episode, my review for episode 3. There's a huge conversation piece about book fans watching the show, the series fans, the book series fans watching the show, and how they are reacting to people who haven't read the books watching the show.
Okay.
And you kind of know where I'm getting at this. It's the age old story of, well, if you haven't read the books, you're not a real fan type of thing. Um, when watching this show, do you feel like the differences are so vast that it affects the way you can enjoy the show?
Funny story. I don't remember much of the book because I read it a decade ago. Um, so I'm actually piecing it together from the movie, which I know is a faux pas, but like I felt at the time the movie was a fairly decent adaptation. Um, then that, so like a lot of my knowledge I'm pulling from the movie first. Um, and I know
Mhm.
that's bad. That being said, I remember a lot from the book. I remember some stuff from the book. Let's be honest. I think I remember I remember the Heroes of Olympus because that came out more recently. That came out within the last like what
Mhm.
6 years or so.
Yeah.
And so like I remember those because those were the last ones I read. Um as for Percy Jackson, no, I don't I personally I don't care if it's different. If it makes sense for what they're doing for the translation from the book to the show, all for it. Because I'll be honest, this episode we're about to talk about, they're on a train, and like I feel like I remember this them being in St. Louis in the book, but like I can't fully
Well, that was
remember it.
that was the thing. So the difference here, the one of the big differences is, and of course, spoilers for episode 4, 3, 2, 1. Um, the differences here is in the book, you see the Chimera at St. Louis
Okay,
on the arch.
okay,
You never see the Chimera on the train. That's the big difference.
gotcha.
Like there is a scene here on the show where like uh they had like woken up or like fell asleep, one of the two, and then like there was a huge crash into the train.
Yeah,
And it was so quick. I even like was like, what the hell was that? This is new. Like I immediately thought to myself, this is new to the story. Um because I just recently finished book 1. I'm new to the
I should reread
series,
them.
and so I'm seeing it with fresh eyes. And I told Katie this. There are some things as far as pacing and dialogue choice that I'm not a huge fan of. But one of the biggest things about this series, even as a book series, it's not aimed for a 31-year-old. It's aimed for a 12-year-old and
Yeah,
younger. Like, I was telling Katie that, like, I got so used to reading because, I mean, the biggest thing right now that I'm reading is, of course, Star Wars books. None of them are in first person. They're
no,
all third person omniscient. And Percy Jackson is specifically first person for a reason. So that way it consumes the reader, children, to make them feel a certain way. And you still can get that watching the show. But here, um, they go to St. Louis, they bump into the Chimera, or at least Percy does by himself. And the chapter is actually named what the title of the episode is. I plunged to my death.
okay,
Or right? Is that what the episode title was called? I can't
yeah, I
remember
flinched
if
to my death. Yeah,
okay. Um and in the book, Annabeth was like admiring the arch because of all the things that she admired it here on the show. The only difference is in the show they made it an actual piece of like uh
like a set, an actual set
well no
or
they
location.
what did they call it? They called it an offering to Athena, or not an
Oh,
offering,
it's a temple.
a temple, a tribute to Athena.
Yeah.
In the book, it's not. It's just the St. Louis Arch.
Okay.
But she admires it because of how perfect and perfect symmetry it is. Um,
I feel like an element I remember in the books was Annabeth was like she was into architecture.
yes, that was the one of the jokes in the book was like Percy was like, I can't see you as an architect. That's really weird, blah blah blah. And her goal that she tells Percy is I want to build the perfect tribute slash temple to Athena. That's like
Okay.
her big thing.
Okay.
So I like that they added that in here. So really the only difference is meeting Echidna and the Chimera on the train. Uh I like this. Like you said before we started recording, this was a little bit of a shorter episode, about 10 minutes or so, shorter than the last 3 episodes that we've gotten so far. Um, but I like it. I think that it's moving quickly. We still have another 4 episodes left.
Yeah.
Uh, book-wise, I think there's still a lot of like things that you can still touch, but I do think there's going to be a lot thrown out.
Okay. Again, I
Yeah.
don't remember a lot of the book. It's been too long. I just actually had to relook it up. The book came
Oh,
out in 2005,
yeah,
and I don't think I
and
read it until at least 2010.
one thing that I mentioned in the GUA chat, and I noticed it just because I was rewatching episode 3. If you watch the end credit like montage with all the murals, it
Yeah.
is literally book 1, like from beginning to end. So if you want
Sure, but
spoilers,
it's all abstract. So unless you actually know what you're
exactly. Like
getting it.
if you haven't read the book, you're probably like, "Oh, look, these are just murals." But if you've
Yeah.
read the book and you actually see what's going on in those murals, you're like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, I see how all of this is going to progress."
Plus, everything's not in order.
That's also true.
So
The
again,
murals are not in order.
it's all abstract. So you take
Yeah.
what you get.
Um I'm trying to think if there was anything else in this episode. Um the I
Percy gets like he doesn't feel like his dad, like Poseidon, is actually like gonna help him out.
yeah,
Up until the very end there.
that was like it's a ongoing theme in the book as well, as he is
Yes.
very sour about his father, more
Which
so
I don't
because of the idea that he just lost his mother as well. So like there's a good reason for it.
yeah, I don't blame him one bit.
How so I I did enjoy, and I think like I think the kid looks a little weird. Young Percy. I don't know why. I don't know if it's his bug eyes or whatever. He just looks a little off. Um
It feels like
is
his head's too big for his body.
yes. Yes. I was thinking the same thing today. But I do
Yeah,
enjoy the flashbacks. It's not something that we got a whole lot in the book. Um when we reviewed episode 1 and 2, in episode 1, you see young Percy like getting in trouble a lot from in school when he was like seeing things. Those in the book were just like mentioned. They weren't like played out like they were in the show. So I did enjoy
correct.
seeing those flashbacks here on the show. And then seeing this flashback with his mom, it does play a big part into what eventually is the ending of this episode. When he does, quote unquote, plunge to his death into the what
It's
river?
the Mississippi,
Mississippi, yeah,
which
into the
looks
Mississippi.
dirty as all get out, and I would
Disgusting.
not want to breathe that water,
Well,
even if I was the son of Poseidon.
it's funny because they mention how dirty it is in the book, and I feel like they made it like that extra murky
Yep.
green on purpose because it was a detail in the book.
Yeah.
Um, but we do find out that Percy can breathe underwater, which is pretty cool. Now, like this was filmed in the volume, so things are going to look a little wonky, a little weird. Um, I thought this was fine. But I think just because, like, there's always been a huge conversation about, like, how people should breathe underwater, quote unquote. I mean, just recently, you guys reviewed Aquaman 2. There was a huge debate over how they should play it off on the DCEU with how they did it in Justice League versus how they did it in Aquaman and everything else. So,
I mean,
uh,
they chose their way. This in Aquaman 2, everything looked weird because everybody's hair kept moving, and it just didn't work. Though I think the first one worked well because they kept like going in air pockets, so it wasn't as bad.
mhm.
This one they stayed on the water a lot, and it was just bad. But like Percy Jackson, this like it was fine. Like I didn't have any issue with it whatsoever. But I also know that he's not constantly always underwater. Like he'll go
Yeah.
there. There's this scene I think like I remember in the movie him like they opened up with him like sitting in a pool because he
Hmm.
felt comfortable. Like so having a few scenes here or there to show him being able to is fine. But I also know that's not a selling point of the show. You know, like
Yeah,
similar
no, not at
to
all.
similar to what we got in episode 2 when Annabeth pushed him in the water. Like he was standing in the water, and then it got like that's when he got
The sign
accepted.
from
Yeah,
from his father.
when it when
Uh,
when Poseidon claimed him, that's what it was. Claimed him.
but yeah, I'm enjoying the show so far. This a little quick. I think if they because like one of the big differences from the show to the book or the book to the show is in the book they had 3 weeks to the summer solstice, and
So
in here they
yeah,
only have 1 week.
I don't think they have a week. They've got to get because they only got like 2 days to get to Los
Well,
Angeles.
no, no, no. So I rewound it in the show. Grover says it's only 2 days to Los Angeles, and then he says plenty of time before the solstice after that. So
Gotcha.
there's a
Okay.
gap of time. It's going to take them 2 days to get to Los Angeles, and so I think there's still like a good 4 days or
Yeah, because I know
so.
they're not traveling by plane, they have to travel by bus or car or train or whatever. Like they
Hmm.
have it is going to take some time. If I remember correctly, yeah, you might be right. It might have been 3 weeks. I also remember that a lot of that gets eaten up somewhere in Nevada. So
Yeah, which is my favorite part of the book, and
it
so
was kind of a
uh,
fun part.
yeah.
Um, but we'll get to that in the show probably in like. Well, let me look at the titles here. Episode 6, so in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, yeah. But
The
do you
one
have
thing,
anything else you want to add to
I'll say the
the?
one thing I found interesting is the gift that Lucas gave to Percy. First off, the fact that Grover is using him. Like, did that happen in the book? I don't remember.
Yes,
I
it
thought
did.
Percy
Yeah,
did it. Okay. But then the other one was a lack of a gift, which I'm pretty sure is very important to. Well, I remember it being important because I thought he used it to help fight against Medusa in the book.
which gift?
The shield.
No, the shield is doesn't play a part in the book.
Oh,
Not the first book. Again, I haven't read any of the other books, so don't spoil too much.
we'll talk after the show.
All right. But if that's it, we can go ahead and move on. Now, guys, you all know Katie is the organizer, the more structured of the two of us here at Star Wars Alliance. Um, so we're just gonna fire off here, and then it's like we said in the beginning of the episode. Both Joe and I are both tired. We're not gonna be here all night. So
Plus,
Joe,
plus the other thing is I don't remember a lot of the Star Wars stuff that came out this past year, and I have no clue what's coming out next year. So
well,
you'll have to
I
explain
have
something to me.
yeah, I have a list. We'll talk about it. But out of the 2023 stuff,
Mhm.
we had, of course, Star Wars Visions season 2 that
Why
you
would you bring
did
that up
not
first?
watch. Yes, exactly. We had Mandalorian season 3. We had Ahsoka. And then we had the Star Wars Jedi Young Adventures, which I have not finished yet. Um, Joe, I'm not sure if that's going to be totally up your alley. You don't have any little ones anymore.
No,
Um,
it's not something I've like. I remember you guys like praising it because one of the High Republic characters was in it, but other than that, I just no interest
yeah.
for me anyway.
And then we had Bad Batch season 2.
Yeah.
Um,
But that was all. That's all show. Didn't we also did Jedi Survivor come out last year? Not Survivor.
oh yeah. We had video games. Yeah. It was Jedi Survivor. Yeah,
Okay,
Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
which I have, so I haven't played.
You haven't played it yet?
I was playing Zelda forever, and then
Oh, that's right. That's
October
right.
came
And
out, which kind of screwed up my recording stuff, and then other things have happened. So
yes, and then you were also playing Spider-Man.
I
So
just beat Spider-Man the other day, and now I'm doing DLC. So then I'll
that's
go
the
to
first
Miles
Spider-Man,
Morales.
people, not the
Yes,
second one.
yeah, because I am like 8 years behind everybody else. Honestly, I mean, the only reason I'm playing this one is because I bought Spider-Man Miles Morales, and it came on there digitally remastered. So with all the DLC, so I'm like, okay, why not?
Nice,
2
nice.
games in one. Like, not gonna complain there.
Well,
Was there anything else? Any other? That was the only game.
that was the only game.
When did
I
the Lego Star Wars Complete Edition
well,
come out? Was that?
actually, I think it
I feel like
was.
that was either late December or early January. I thought that was
That's a good question. Hold on. Let me
okay.
double check.
Plus, we had
Um,
books which I haven't read. There was comics I haven't read. Um, Trying to think what else, other Star Wars stuff.
all
I
right.
don't know.
So the release date for the Skywalker saga was April of 2022. So yeah, it
I was way
wasn't
off.
this year. It wasn't this year.
Samsonite. I was way off. Okay.
No, so the Survivor was the only game because there
Okay.
is another game that's supposed to be coming out, Bounty Hunters. But they they released a like an apology and were like, "Hey, we're actually going to like update the game." And I think it's a big like way of them saying, "Hey, we noticed how battle pass games are like dying. So we're going to change it, but we're not telling you that. We're just saying, "Hey, it's going to be delayed."
I do remember that now. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But no, okay. So if we're going straight just TV shows, because obviously we had no movies. Favorite out of all those was Ahsoka. Like Ahsoka was just great. Um, Seeing Rebels in live action was amazing. Still disheartened by uh, Ray Stevenson passing, and
Mhm.
hopefully we can get more of him, more of Balin in the in like comics or book form, which I'm assuming they probably will. But it sucks because I know outside of them uh, recasting, we're not going to see any more with that, which sucks.
Yeah, that's the big thing. And Balin is such a complex and interesting character. I would really like to see him like pop up in random places within comics and stuff. Um it'd be very interesting to see him come up in a book. Uh but I agree with you. Ahsoka out of all of those, Ahsoka was probably my number one on this list. Um I'm not gonna say it surprised me because I was already hyped for this show. I think a lot of people have been wanting this show for
Sure,
years now.
I was losing hype though because of my negativity toward Mandalorian season 3.
That was, of course, we all voiced our opinions on Mandalorian season 3. I think you were even on Star Wars Alliance when we ranked our shows
I was
for
when
the
I
live
called man
action stuff.
when I called everything like Book of Boba Fett, Mandalorian season 2.5.
But I my second favorite would be Visions season 2. I highly recommend it. Um they are very, very different comparatively to what came out in season 1. Of course, it's because these are completely different studios on
Yeah,
different parts of the world from season 1, as it should be. Um, but there's always just that one that's like, "Oh, man, if this were to continue either in a show or a book or a series, that would be awesome." Um, which, we haven't gotten confirmation whatsoever, and there hasn't really been any rumors, but there was the Ronin book that spun out of the Duel, which was the first episode of season 1. So I would really like to see something spin out of what was season 2. Um so there's high hopes for that. I think that is on my list of wants for 2024, an adaptation of Vision season 2 for a book next year or this year. Um, but uh, news for 2023, we got news that we are going back to the theaters eventually, somehow, some way, hopefully. Um, with, of course, we have Dave Filoni's movie that is going to basically be Heir to the Empire. We have
which I'm
the
very I feel like that should be a Disney Plus movie because it's all based off of shows on
Mhm.
Disney Plus. Not that they can't work, as being a movie in theaters, but I feel like if everything's on Disney Plus here and nobody watches it, if you only ever see the movies in theaters and you don't watch them on the shows on Disney Plus, and so you go into this movie and be like, well, who's
Who
the
the hell is this?
Mandalorian?
Yeah.
Who's Ahsoka? Like, who are these characters? Sabine Wren? What's this wannabe
It's
Boba
gonna
Fett
be very
character?
interesting if it eventually does come out in theaters. Um,
Like, don't get me wrong,
the
I'll be there day one in theater, but I just feel like it should have been to Disney Plus for like
Oh, and the thing
first.
is, the same way that comic book movies, superhero movies works, same goes for Star Wars. You will have the general audience members that look at the title Star Wars and they're like, okay, Star Wars movie, I can go watch that. This one's a little bit different. This is something that they've never done before. It is a amalgamation of several shows on Disney
Yeah.
Plus peeking into a movie. So, I mean, I think critics will know, okay, well, there's TV shows that go before this, so they'll be able to judge it accordingly. But when it comes to the viewer general audience, that's going to be very interesting to see how they react to this movie. So there's that's coming out. There is, of course, the Rey Skywalker movie. And then there is the Dawn of the Jedi movie that is going to be directed by James Mangold as well. These are the three movies that have been confirmed to be in the works. I think out of all of these, I think the Rey Skywalker movie is moving forward the quickest, the fastest, whatever you want to
Yeah, they
push.
just announced a director today, didn't they? Yes, yesterday,
No, no, no.
today.
I think the director was announced at Celebration.
Well, what? There was something I saw today online because people are complaining
Um,
about it. Shocker, I know.
really?
Star Wars fans complaining about Star Wars stuff.
um, I have been at work all day, so I didn't see any
Well, it wasn't
announcements or anything.
shared in the group chat. That's the thing.
I
Because I
know
didn't
that
want
Katie shared something earlier. Uh, oh, it says right here, news director Charmin
Yep, that one.
Abaid discussed the upcoming rate. No, she was announced at Celebration.
Okay,
It's just saying here that she was discussing it with CNN.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Again, I don't follow the Star Wars news because I'm super behind, obviously. So
But
yeah,
I'm very excited to see this movie. The building of a new Jedi Order, how that plays out. People are very excited to either see a very old Cal Kestis, possibly, or even an older Grogu. Um, you
I would
know,
love to see Cal in live action.
I would absolutely love it.
My hand is looks just like him. It's weird.
uh, Cameron Monaghan, not Dominic. I don't know where
Sorry.
you got Dominic from.
Nope, that's my bad. My bad. Whatever.
But I think Cal has easily become one of my favorite Jedis. And it has been cemented that way since Survivor. So I will say this: push Survivor up on your list, especially if you are interested in High Republic stuff. There's some
I'm
teases
so
in
far
there.
behind on that.
Yeah, I know
I've
you
got
are.
the books. Literally, like, I've got phase one, phase two books. Just haven't read them. I've had time.
Travis Mitchell, thank you for joining us on the show. I know you're here a lot. Thank you so much. And so far, so good. We're 3 days into the new year and hasn't been too bad. Just long days at work. Um,
I mean, my life is just a big dumpster fire, so it's whatever.
Currently,
What do you
uh,
mean currently? That's always been that way. You don't know me, Clay.
but the other movie is the Dawn of the Jedi movie,
Yeah.
by James Mangold. And one thing that me and Katie have always said about this movie is it is a very unique instance in Hollywood because yes, you have rules to follow, but you now have the very cool ability. James Mangold has the very cool ability to create rules. He can put things in place that can kind of be cemented for any and all future Star Wars movies.
Yes, but he still has to play in the sandbox of what was created. Now he
True.
can show cool ways of how they got found out. Like he could show a really cool way of how of learning the force heal that Ray used on um Kylo
Mhm.
in that one movie I shall not be named. But it like you could I mean, I understand that we saw that in Mando first, but they had to show in Mando first so that it made sense for Rise of Skywalker. But with Dawn of the Jedi, you could show like, hey, we're testing this out, and it's not really working. Like I sucked too much like energy from this guy, and I killed him. Used too much of his life force. I guess I'll figure it out next time.
I
But
I
but things like that. Yeah, you're right. He is gonna be able to. He's got a wider checkbook.
Yeah. Yeah, he does. And of course, I'm not entirely sure if he's gonna use it as a roadmap or anything else. We did review the book, Dawn of the Jedi. If you
Jedi.
guys want to, and that's exactly how they pronounce it in that book. It's
Yeah,
wild.
because it's two eyes. An apostrophe.
Oh, that's true. That is true. That is true. But I'm excited for these movies because of course it brings us back to the theater. Of course it was oh shoot, what is her name?
Kathleen Kennedy.
Kennedy at Celebration said that, these movies are going to be events. They want to make these theatrical releases event movies. Um
Cool. Put them back in December where they were making you bank and don't. Oh, it's the 50th anniversary. We need to put it out in May. No, you don't. People will go see it in December. Put it in December, you idiots.
It's May the 4th. It's Star Wars
Don't
Day.
care. Force Awakens, Rogue One, Last Jedi,
Honestly,
all did bank in December.
honestly, all you need to do is make deals with cable television for people who are still watching cable television to do the marathons how they used to, and you're good. Um, hell,
Well, yeah,
I
but you have
mean,
everybody has
people
Disney
have.
Plus now, so
I mean, there's a lot of people who still have Disney Plus. There's some people who don't. I mean, I don't know who they are, but I'm sure there's people who don't.
yeah.
Um,
The people who only go see the movies, that's who.
that is also true. Um, Travis is saying Rise of Skywalker annoyed me with all the random powers it
It annoyed me
introduced,
too,
but
who are
weirdly
Travis.
rewatching
Not the
um
power thing, just the movie.
watching ET that softened my stance a bit. Uh
Which is fair.
the idea those species exist in Star Wars and he basically force heals. Yeah.
I mean, they were at the council, so yeah, no, I think I've said it on this show before. If not, I'll say it now. Rise of Skywalker is my least favorite Star Wars movie. However, there are a million little things in that movie that I love.
Yeah.
Just the movie itself, worst movie of the whole saga, in my opinion.
Do I have it as the worst?
It's my
I think
least
it,
favorite.
I think it's low, but like the Clone Wars is like right
Oh,
there.
that's fun, man. Are you kidding me? That was fun.
Uh, um, mm, yeah.
Anyway, but no, I get
But
it. I get it.
it trust me, like the idea was, and we all watched it live. Grogu force heals in the second the
It was like the third episode.
no, I think it was actually the one right before the finale of season 1. He force heals, and then or was it season 2? I think it was
No
season.
season. It was season one because it was after the Mudhorn. No, wasn't the Mudhorn?
No, it was after. It was after. I
You're
think it
right.
was.
It was like closer to the end of the season. You're right. You're right.
Yeah, it was near the end of the season, and literally the next day is Rise of Skywalker, and she force heals. Um,
But they did it because they wanted to show, hey, this is not some weird power that they just found in this movie. It has
mhm.
actually been around for a while. And you could argue, like looking back, that there are some moments in what was it? either the original or the prequels, where they kind of made it work. You could have argued that force healing was used. I don't remember because it's been a while. I'm actually rewatching them this year, um, for my other podcast. But so it's going to be. I feel like I thought it was used somewhere else, or arguably they tried to say it was used somewhere else, but we'll get there.
Travis does mention the use of the word friend when ET sees the Yoda mask. He says, instead of saying home, which I take to mean that the species coexist on the same planet or have a close relationship.
I like that
Um,
idea.
that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I'm excited about the movies just because of the idea of, things coming into fruition. Of course, with movies, there is a relationship with Star Wars and cancellations.
What?
So,
We're talking about. I'm still
um,
waiting on the two creators of Game of Thrones to get their trilogy out.
don't
And
even
Taika
get me
Waititi.
started. I could care less about that one.
Oh, I
I
know
could
you can.
care less. Um, so I do want there to be movies when it comes to Star Wars. Um, do you think we know that Star Wars Celebration is not coming back until 2025 and it's going to be in I believe uh Japan, China, one of the two. It's one of the two. Um but do you think movies are not announced until Star Wars Celebration in 2025? Or do you think we get another announcement here in 2024?
It's gonna be in Japan, by the way. Um, I can see them holding off until Celebration to announce any more movies, especially since I understand that these three are actually going. They're actually being worked on. Like you said, the Ray one is being worked on quicker than the rest. Um, but then Filoni's doing his thing, and that's going to come out because of what's going on there. But like the James Mangold one, I haven't really heard much of that since it got announced, if I'm being honest. But again, I also don't follow the news as much as you guys do. So,
Well,
um,
I can't remember if it was either he is working on Star Wars first and then Swamp Thing, or if he's working on Swamp Thing and then Star Wars. I can't remember which one is flip flopped.
so I haven't heard anything about the Swamp Thing, and since he got announced for that too, so like whatever. Um, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they wait until 25, only because literally what I just said. They announced two other sets of trilogies, and then that's also not including Rogue Squadron by what was her name? Patty Jenkins. Like they had all of this stuff announced back in 2020,
Hmm.
2018, 2019 that went nowhere. And it's just like why are we putting the cart before the horse? We need to actually get stuff off the ground. We need to get stuff actually close to being done. And then we can have the mouse just put it on the shelf because he hates it, like WB does with all their stuff. Yeah.
I really do hope that they learned from their lesson in putting the cart before the horse. Travis says, Force healing, from what I remember, first appeared in the MedStar novel. It probably existed long before that. I just vividly remember the cover of the Jedi healing the clone.
I
Okay.
remember that cover too. That was pretty cool.
But, you know, talking about the Jenkins movie and the Taika Waititi and the Game of Thrones, the big rumor was that
D&D.
the Game of Thrones guys were gonna make a Darth Bane like movie and all of that.
Well, it's
And
gonna be Old Republic or something. Yeah, it was.
yeah,
I think Darth Bane was the front runner, which I would have been like
mhm,
so on board with. But
honestly, but I do hope that they've learned. Hey, if anything, I think. an announcement, because it still has not yet been confirmed. But Dave Filoni has talked a lot about the future of what will hold for Thrawn and Ahsoka and everything else. Um, I think season two for Ahsoka is announced in 2024.
Hmm.
I don't think they wait until 2025 to announce a season two of Ahsoka.
That's going to depend on. I feel like that's going to depend on how far along the movie is. That's going to connect them all, right?
Really?
Well, because I can see the movie setting up. Spoiler alert: if you haven't seen Ahsoka and Sabine getting off the planet back into this universe.
Mm-hmm.
So I would assume, because we know season 4 of Mando is going to come before the movie, right?
Yes, and there was rumors of like Mando season 4 was actually going to be the movie, and it was going to be pushed to theaters and all of these different things. Don't know if you had heard about that at all.
Yeah, I
Um,
remember that in following in the group chat, and I'm like, that makes just kind of made me not like Mando anymore. So,
the
but
rumors
also
have
made me
been shut
excited because
down
it made me excited because it would have wrapped up the show so much quicker, and I'd be
so
like,
much
yes.
quicker.
Um, but no, like I would assume that we'll get one more season of Mando. We got Skeleton Crew on the way. And once you get that done, then we go into a movie. And then after the movie, we could potentially get a season 2 of Ahsoka. It's not like they care if you watch one season and not watch another show connecting to it when the next season comes out, because why would you want to do that? Why would you want to watch all Star Wars stuff? Why would I want to watch Book of Boba Fett that has 2 episodes of Mando in it and not understand where Grogu and Mando got back together and how he hit the one ship? And I don't need to know that. I'm not
I
bitter.
mean, we all
I love Star
know.
Wars. Everybody, I love Star Wars. I do.
No, no, we all know that the ending of season 2 was just a complete waste of time, unfortunately. Um, but for me, I think that Ahsoka season 2 comes before the movie. I think it's set up. Mm,
Hmm.
that's
It
the
make
way
more
I'm thinking.
sense to get them off that out of that universe back into this universe, so
Mhm.
that everybody is all the pieces are literally right there in Thrawn's way. But I don't know. Okay.
Now here's the thing. So, do you think just because he has been on the record to say Mark Hamill has said that he would like to see somebody else take the mantle of Luke Skywalker. With the new additions to uh the contract to the SAG-AFTRA with using AI and everything else, do you think they recast Luke Skywalker for the Heir to the Empire movie, or do they write him out completely?
I'm gonna say write him out. I don't think he needs to be in to the Heir to the Empire movie. I understand completely. The book has him in it heavily,
Mhm.
obviously, but considering the setup, doesn't the setup for this movie, this universe, well, these shows,
Mhm. The
his role is
Mandoverse, as people like
his
to call it.
yeah, his role is come take Grogu. I train Grogu, but Grogu wants to go back home to Daddy Mando. So I'm going to threaten him by saying, "Hey, you can take this chainmail that your adopted dad made, or you can become a Jedi. But it's just whatever, Jedi. Come on, Jedi, let's go." And he chooses the Mando. We don't need him in there. He doesn't need to be in the movie. Does he make an appearance? Maybe, but I don't think we need to actually have him in the movie.
I don't
That
think
doesn't answer your
he
question though.
I don't think he will be a part of it. Um, but I would like to see a definitive answer to the idea of if they're gonna stick with recasting these iconic characters or not.
So I was actually just thinking about this yesterday because I was watching um the Indiana Jones and Dial of Destiny with my dad. I would like to see Indiana Jones rebooted. Like start over and honestly what they should have done after Last Crusade is just James Bond it and then you get a different actor. It's what it should have happened. But for whatever reason they didn't, and now it's too late to continue on and you can't get a new actor. Like that's just impossible now. So what they've done with Luke, however, see the thing is like what they've done with Luke versus what they've done with Han. Luke, they just de-aged Mark Hamill, which I think was I'm not gonna say it was a mistake, but because it looked fine in season two.
Mhm.
Season well, yeah, season two. No,
Well,
season three.
no,
Wait, when did
so
he get it?
season 2 was the, like, very awkward, like, very
No blinking.
bad
Yeah.
yeah, Photoshop, yeah.
Oh, you know what it was? My bad. It was Book of Boba Fett when he went to go get Grogu.
Mhm.
But I was
Yeah.
confusing it because it should have been. Anyway, sorry, I'm gonna stop that. Um, like that, he was fine there. Like I didn't mind him there. Because he wasn't the focus of those episodes. The focus of the episodes was Mando and Grogu, obviously.
Yeah.
Not Boba Fett, like it should have been. Sorry. Um, you, I can't help myself. But no, so de-aging him, fine. It worked for what they're doing. And then on the reverse side, with the Solo movie, you got a whole new actor, a young actor that looked fairly like close to Harrison Ford in Alden. Yep, hit that guy. Guy's name. Sorry, I'll learn in a few months. It's fine. Like I thought he did a good job. Like I thought like what they did with the recast was great.
Mhm.
And there are definitely a lot of people out there who could go as a new Luke Skywalker. However, they've already set the precedent of de aging Mark Hamill in these two properties, these two episodes, if you
Yeah.
will, that if you now change it to a new actor, it's gonna be weird. Alden Ehrenreich, thank you, Travis. My bad. Um, and yeah, he would have been fine as the young Indy in the flashbacks, but they're
I
like
would have
DH
loved
Harrison
that.
Ford.
I would have
It would have been
loved if they had used Alden. People would have been pissed. I would have loved it.
right. Anyway, um, but it's one of those things now where you've kind of wrote yourself in the corner with de-aging Luke for the shows to where if he does show up in Heir to the Empire and you don't de-age him and you just have a new actor, it's gonna be really weird. That's my opinion anyway.
I you got to choose one or the other. I think. Um and with the very like hard line that people are drawing with AI and things of that nature, um I'm going to be very interested to see how close to the line Lucasfilm walks, cuz I think they will get away with some things and then they totally won't get away with others. Um cuz the really big question about Ahsoka, unfortunately, Ray Stevenson did die. Balin was left on a literal cliff, on a statue cliffhanger. His story does progress in some nature, recast AI. What do you do? What do you don't do?
See, and that's the thing. I think, like I said, with Luke, you can't recast him now because you've already de-aged him. With Han Solo, you've recast him, so you can't de-age him. But you see what I'm saying? With
Mm-hmm.
with Balin, I think you can recast him and be fine. And that's
Because
the
the
only thing
decision has not
is
been made yet, right? Because if they
correct.
decide to de-age or to use AI, then if they try to turn back around and recast, then people will be like, "Hey, well, why did you
It's
do
already
this in
too
the first
late.
place?"
Why'd you
Yeah,
do
yeah,
this?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's one of those things where oh, I lost what I was gonna say. Oh, I definitely I do think that they are trying their damnedest to not have to do that with the original cast anymore. Like they're doing everything they can to work around that, which sucks
Which I think is
because I would
so
love
funny.
man, like I still want a Solo 2 or even the Lando project that has gone nowhere since 2021
2018,
whatever.
2019, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
well, Travis has an opinion on Balin. He says here, with Balin, I think recasting makes the most sense, but they could also recast, not show his face, then have him ascend to the cosmic force, appearing as a voice. Um, and
That'd
then
be interesting.
if that's the case, you have there's a lot of voice actors who are professionals at mimicking famous iconic actors' voices.
Nah,
Um,
man, you pull all of his audio from every single movie he's been in. So
well,
I want to
and
hear him as Punisher saying Punisher lines as Balin. That's Balin cosmic voice, man. It's one of
well,
mine.
and that's what they ended up doing with Luke Skywalker in the Book of Boba Fett. The first full AI iteration of Luke Skywalker was in Book of Boba Fett. He they used Mark Hamill as a stand-in to act the parts, and then they put in a completely young actor with an AI filter on him, and they even used an AI voice modulator to recreate the young Luke Skywalker voice. So they could do the exact same thing with Ray Stevenson and Balin. He also says when David Bowie died, David Lynch brought him back as a tea kettle in Twin Peaks. So weirder things have been done.
Maybe I need to watch Twin Peaks. Okay.
It's going to be very interesting. Um and to your point of, you know, the idea that they are going around these three characters, it's the Skywalker saga. If
Those
you
9 films are the Skywalker saga. You don't need to have Skywalkers in literally everything. Like, there's it's a okay. Look, hold on.
we've
No,
had this
it's
discussion
the
before.
Star
We've had
Wars
this
universe. It's not Kentucky. Okay, just saying. The whole big universe. Anyway,
But that's so true. We've talked about this. Me and Katie have talked about this. We've talked about it with guests. It's this idea that there's a mass, like we've seen maps, literal maps of the Star Wars galaxy. And for some reason, we
mm-hmm.
still stay in this small cluster of stars. We don't go anywhere else. And it's so stupid. I'm sorry. It just is.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why we are such big
I'm
fans of the High Republic.
see. I'm still waiting on somebody in the High Republic to be a Skywalker. Just saying.
We have that bizarre period of comics novels where Alden and Glover's likeness as Han and Lando were everywhere when it just stopped. Yeah,
Yep.
like it's very very awkward. Like
Like you've
you
already committed. You've committed to
mhm.
these two being these characters. Go full board. Get more. Give me sequels. Give me solo. What happened? I mean, I know what happened with Kira and Darth Maul. Well, Maul. Like we got that in the comics, but and Maul's fate in Rebels. But like, I
Mhm.
want to see it in live action.
And, you know,
You tease stuff and then not. Anyway, sorry.
trying not to veer too much away from the actual conversation that we're having for 2023 and 2024, in the future, we are getting this year Acolyte. Acolyte is supposed to
True.
be the first live action bridge between what will be the Skywalker saga and what is the High Republic. So, my hopes, my genuine hopes, Travis mentioned uh, the it would be really cool if Filoni and Spielberg did a Clone Wars style animation for Indiana Jones. Travis
I would
Snell,
love that.
Katie, and I have talked about the idea of doing a Clone Wars style animation show between uh episode 6 and episode 7 to fill in the gaps on things. Um and we've also talked
There's
about that type of
3 books
show.
I can give you that for that. It's called
Y- y-
Aftermath. They're good. They're
yes,
great.
there's a lot of legend stuff. Yes.
Aftermath is not Legends. Aftermath is
Oh, that's
canon.
true. Yeah, Aftermath is Legends. I mean, it's not Legends. Um,
Watching
but
you.
but the idea is High Republic has been very highly praised. Um, and there's actually going to be a very key character coming out in Acolyte. I really do hope this opens the door to moving away to what is the Skywalker saga and branching out to the High Republic. Katie and I have talked about the idea that a lot of comics and books are veering towards like the kind of area of where the Acolyte is. It's like pre Phantom Menace and like right before the Clone Wars. So we kind of think that maybe they're working on something possibly in that area as well. And Star Wars animation is wonderful. They have proven themselves to know what they are doing.
Dude, the
You
last 4 episodes of Clone Wars where Maul and Ahsoka have their battle that was like actually fought out in person and like had the bubbles like the CGI mocap. There we go, the mocap
yeah.
on the actors. Like it's come a long way. And it was
Yeah.
I mean, that
And
battle still gives me chills.
I genuinely think that they just need to do it again. They need to pick an era. They now have 3 different eras that they can choose from and say, "Hey, we're going to commit to this." And yes, currently right now they're doing Bad Batch, which after
Oh
season
yeah,
2
Bad
I have
Batch is up there.
after season 2 I have so much more confidence in what will be season 3, but
Yeah.
it's not hitting off as much as people thought it would. So move on to something that can really pop off. That's my hope for
The
2024.
the big thing is the original era, the rebellion era, um, is beloved by so many people that you need to just stop doing stuff in there. Don't get me wrong, Rogue One and Andor are some of the best movie and shows ever. Like those two properties are just amazing, and I would love to continue on with that. But that's also another one of those that is you have a set parameters that you can play with, and you really can't go too far either way on them. And I feel like what they're doing is great. But that being said, I mean, Mando, Book of Boba, Ahsoka, like these are still technically original trilogy era,
Mhm.
moving into the sequel trilogy, sort of. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, it's going to be it's because this is only 7 years after Return, something like that.
I believe so. 6 or 7.
So like you're still technically in the original trilogy era, like I said. That to the point where you're right. We've got a ton of wiggle room in the sequel trilogy. We've got some stuff. Technically, we got a ton for the prequels before Phantom Menace. And from the sounds of it, like you said, Acolyte's going to be covering majority of those 15 years with these prequel trilogy. So you've got more room both ends. Play with that. Give me stories in there.
Yeah.
You don't need to touch the original trilogy. Travis here says David Glover is now 40, which is only 2 years younger than Billy D was in Empire. So he says at this point, Glover can just play Lando post Return of the Jedi, which I think that's when you start getting into that weird era of like, because you had Billy D in Empire and Return, and you might be able to get away with Glover as Lando maybe 10 years after Return, barely. But then you see Lando in Rise of Skywalker.
Rise of Skywalker is Billy
He's
D.
so
Williams.
much older, and it's like, okay, now that's only technically.
Is there a version? Is there a
35 years
version
later?
Is there a version of Star Wars where they just supercut freaking Glover on top of Billy D. Williams in Rise of Skywalker?
No. You're not gonna disrespect Billy D like that. Come on. No. Honestly, you want to do something like that? Refilm the original trilogy with new actors, with Alden, with Glover.
We've also talked about this on the show
with Ewan McGregor. Like do a whole new the original trilogy with the actors.
I think it happens eventually. I don't know if it happens. I don't think so. Time. Not in our lifetime.
Oh, it's not gonna be. No. If anything, they'll reboot it all and just make a whole. Actually, I don't know about that. I don't think they're gonna do anything like that. I think what they'll do is then they'll be able to actually play with new spots. It'll be Skywalker Saga adjacent. This is happening at the same time that Skywalker Saga is that the original trilogy is happening, but with Tag and Bink or something. I don't know. That's right. I went there.
I would love to see Billy Lord as Leia, even though she's.
That was everybody's thought when she popped up in. Was it right? No, she was in the second one.
Yeah, she was
in Last Jedi.
Yeah, she was in Last Jedi first, and then she appeared again in
Rise.
And then Rise of Skywalker. Yeah.
And like that would work. Like those, because she looks so much like her mother, like Carrie Fisher. Like it would have been fine her portraying Princess Leia.
Yeah.
I don't
know. It's going to be a very interesting few years to see how Lucasfilm decides to get back on their feet, if you will. But anything else for 2024, do you think?
No. I love Star Wars. So I'm looking forward to whatever's going to be coming out. If I have time, I'll watch it. Eventually, I'll go watch season 2 of Visions.
I was going to say, thankfully for Acolyte, you're not going to need to know anything.
Exactly, which
going
is nice.
in.
Don't get me wrong. I love homework. I do love watching stuff leading into things. But when it gets to the point of like Marvel level, when I need to watch 18 different things just to understand what is going on in this movie, I'm sorry.
By the time Acolyte comes out, you would, if you want to catch up on High Republic stuff, you would have to read like 17 books and 4 different comic series and all of that stuff.
That's different because I don't have to.
Exactly, exactly. As Snell likes to say, books are canon until they're not. And
That's true. I mean, there's an
there,
Ahsoka novel that definitely was not canon anymore. Really, I mean,
I
it is, but it's
mean,
not.
it's true though. It's definitely true.
Yeah.
So we'll see how everything goes. Very
I mean, I
much
guess
looking
technically it
forward.
was a young adult, but whatever. They don't really count those as canon much.
Very much looking forward to Acolyte. I think that's going to be my number one on my list. Um, I believe Andor season 2 has been pushed to 2025. Um,
No, that
I
sucks.
believe I want to double check. Um, but the last time I checked, I think it was going to be in 2025.
Boo.
Actually, yeah, it got pushed back to 2025, so no Andor season 2 this year. So far it looks like we will be getting Skeleton Crew this year, uh Bad Batch season 3, Acolyte, and I can't remember if they said they were going to push for the end of the year for Mando season 4, but I don't know. I don't know if
I
that's
mean,
possible.
look, it. We were talking before Book of Boba Fett started in on December 29th in 2021. So like,
Yeah,
even if it's the last Wednesday of the year, it's still technically made it in 2024.
very, very true. Travis says, people would get pissed, but I would love if Andor ends with Luthen or Kino flying at the Battle of Scarif and swooping in right before the Death Star blasts and kills Andor and Jen, saving them.
No, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like that'd be cool, and they have. I mean, not rebels. Clone Wars has definitely added to Revenge of the Sith and like changed things up.
Mhm.
Um, but the whole point of Rogue One, the whole point of that team is that they
It's
were
a
set up to
suicide
fail.
mission.
And yes,
Eh,
Travis, I know, like you said, people would get pissed. I'm not pissed. I don't think it. I don't think it would work. Like I don't think. Actually, no. Hold on.
Like the
I
idea
wouldn't be
is
pissed. But
no, like I would watch it and just be like, "Wow, they actually did that." I think would be my reaction. But the
it
whole
is.
idea
It's
is that I'm pretty sure, like the talks of everybody else in the rebellion is like these people risked their lives, or they knew that this was a suicide mission. They did not come back, but they still saved the galaxy, basically.
it's the end of Smallville season 3 and the beginning of Smallville season 4 when Chloe walked into the house and the house blew up, only for season 4 to have Chloe walk into the house and then get pulled into the basement to get saved. No,
Oh,
I'm never allowed back on the show.
no,
Anyway,
of course you are. Of course you are. Um, but I think that's going to cut it for today. Very good discussion. I know we kind of went on some tangents, but
what?
uh, like I said, I'm not the organized one. Um, Due to her sickness, we do have to push some of our book reviews back. I have read Jedi Academy book 2, so we will be reviewing that here shortly, as well as I believe uh, we have like the first 4 months of this year already planned out. So look forward to that for sure. Travis says, or it's the God of War ending with him splatting on some pavement, and the second one beginning with gods going, nah, yeah, no, I remember that too.
Love it.
But Joe,
Love it.
where can the listeners or viewers find you? And of course, tell them what has been coming up on your show.
Oh, well, thank you, Katie. Thanks for letting me sub in. You guys can find me on, I'm part of this network with a walk through the multiverse, where I go over literally anything that's not DC, Marvel, or Star Wars. I think I'm going to be covering. I just put an episode out talking about Rebel Moon. I've got two more episodes coming out, which will be covering the back half of Reacher over on Amazon Prime. That's going to be coming out, I think, next Tuesday, and then in 2 weeks. Because I've just been doing about two episodes and covering two episodes for one episode. Other than that, I mean, obviously, I'm part of DC Alliance, which we do a live stream every Friday night. And then also part of Ranger Alliance, which we are behind on that, but we're going to get to it. But then I also have another show, Comic Book Rundown, which is over on a whole different network. You guys can find that on all the streaming services. We're also on YouTube. I put the episodes out on Fridays. And this year, we're going to be doing, for Comic Book Rundown, going to be talking about comic book movies all year in my rundown review section, because I needed a break from comics. They were getting to the point where I was kind of hating covering, and I didn't ever want to get to that point. So we're going to be taking a year talking about comic book movies. And fun enough, we are going to be covering all the Star Wars movies. Speaking of Star Wars stuff, we're doing one a month because there are 12 Star Wars movies. And yes, I'm including the Clone Wars movie. So we're
Very
watching
nice.
it in chronological order. Our coverage of the first one of Phantom Menace comes out at the end of the month. Yeah, January 26th. So if you guys want to go check out us having fun there, me and my friends nitpicking that, should be fun.
Very nice. Very nice. Um, and of course, we are supposed to be planning out another episode of Ranger Alliance, where you can find both of us again here on the network. Um, you can, of course, always find me at Fanboy Clay on any and all social media. Haven't been streaming too much since I moved to Indiana. Don't have the time. But I am playing a lot of Marvel Snap. Me and Jake are, and we're still planning on pushing Patreon content surrounding that game. So check out the Patreon if you're interested. Of course, $5 a month gets you exclusive content throughout the entire network. And you get shows early, so that's always fun. But yeah, it's been fun tonight. Like I said, Katie will be back soon, and we have an entire slate for like the first quarter of 2024. So looking forward to that as well. But with that, guys, thank you so much. And remember, may the force be with you.